The Hebrew words goy and its plural goyim are not bad words. And the fact that there are so many people online who are posting that it is, they are uneducated. And I honestly think it's a satanic effort by the enemy to make people think that when someone calls them a goy, that the true meaning of the word means that they are cattle, that they are subhuman, or that they are somebody's slave. Now, here's the thing, the word has been used in pejorative context, and it should not be, and that is what is causing this chaos. The fact that we have some of those in the Judahite house doing that makes them total asshats. I mean, I'll say it outright. The word is used in the Hebrew Bible to reference several groups of people, including, by the way, the nation of Israel. Now, the reason I'm coming here to debunk the claim that the word goy means slave or subhuman, even though that's how the word is being used, is because the enemy is working very hard to get people to hate Jews and also to hate the Hebrew Bible. There was somebody who commented on my YouTube channel stating that the Hebrew Bible is just as abhorrent as the Talmud, which is scary when you think about it. I will repeat myself in that I do not like the Talmud because it contains significant replacement theology. Yes, it has room for a Noahide who would have used to keep 30 commandments but now keeps 7 commandments, excluding Shabbat. And the Talmud does make claims like a Noahide attempting to keep Shabbat should be put to death because it's not part of their inheritance. The Torah was given exclusively to the Jews. And this division between Jew and Gentile that we see now is part of the dividing wall claim that Paul made in the book of Ephesians. It's not a division that the Tanakh puts up, it's a division that men put up. If we read the Hebrew Bible carefully, we should understand that Abraham is a descendant of Shem. And when we talk about anti Semitism, we're referring to statements or things that are anti Shem, anti Shemite. And Avram in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 2 is called a goy. God says, I will make you into a great nation, or goy, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. So, when somebody declares that they share ancestry with the patriarch Abraham, or even any of the other patriarchs, they are claiming to be part of the collective singular goy, that is Israel, that receives blessing because of his faithfulness to God. And the reason beyond this that we know the word goy does not mean cattle is because there are other words in the Hebrew Bible that have the meaning cattle, like bakar or even behemah, and behemah means beast. So when you have these small quotes of sages in the Talmud who make Gentiles out to be like they are these large domesticated beasts, or that dining with them would be like dining with a beast, they are essentially corrupting what the Tanakh actually says about the word goy, because the word goy is used very positively in the Hebrew Bible. And one must note that those quotes are part of a very specific context, and so one must be careful just to post those small sentences on the internet, because at the end of the day, it could just be one extremist rabbi who is expressing a crazy opinion and not something that's agreed upon within the entire religion of Judaism. Now, if you're believing this false information on the internet and you're using it as a reason to hate Jews, you're just falling for the next psyop that's going to cause significant amounts of chaos in society. Now, Mossad's motto is primarily based on the Proverbs, and one of their mottos is, or was, by deception shall you wage war. So the intelligence communities are effectively waging war on the human mind by creating and spreading false information to create further divisions between Jews and Christians. All this speaks directly to something that Yeshua said was going to happen in Matthew chapter 24. In the Greek text, we read that he said that ethnos shall wage war against ethnos, and ethnos meaning ethnicity if we were to translate it to plain English. So think of it as the non-Jewish ethnicities versus the Jewish ethnicity. Further evidence of positive uses of the word goy is when God tells Jacob that his descendants shall be goyim effectively. In Genesis chapter 35 and verse 11, it says, And Elohim said to him, I am El Elyon, or God Almighty. Be fruitful and increase in number. A nation, or a goy, and a company of nations, meaning a multitude of goyim, will come from you, and kings will be among your descendants. So, part of the blessing in Torah to the patriarchs is that anyone in the world is free to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as somebody who is created in the image of God, because through them it is a multitude of nations that are being blessed, not just a single nation. So, if somebody came up to me and called me a goy, I would not be insulted. I would not be offended. I would just say, yes, I'm a goy who happens to worship the God of Israel. And that makes me a specific classification of goy. I fall into the collective singular of goy kadosh, which is a reference to the nation of Israel in the book of Exodus as the set apart nation that sets the example for the rest of the world as far as how worship is supposed to go. Now, in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 3, we read as part of the blessing to Abraham, where a great nation or goy will come from him, that all the mishpachot, all the families of the earth, will be blessed. So if a Jew tries to call you goy in the pejorative sense, they're relying on your lack of education when it comes to the Hebrew Bible, because the Hebrew Bible says that all families are free to worship the God of Israel, not just a specific subset of elitist people who stem from a certain bloodline. So you could be goy in two fashions effectively within the Hebrew Bible, depending on the context. You could be a goy as in a non-Hebrew, a non-Israelite, a non-Judahite, or you could be a goy in the collective singular sense, as in you are part of the goy gadol, which is the great nation of Israel. And I'm able to minister to both Jews and Christians because of my level of education on the Bible. In fact, I have the women at yeshivot, or the women who went to modern Orthodox yeshivot, reading my studies on the messiahship of Yeshua. And the reason is because I don't pitch it at them with typical missionary tactics or typical Christian hate against Jews or typical missionary rejection of the law of Moses and those kinds of heresies. In fact, not only are the patriarchs told that a great nation will stem from them, which is obviously Israel, but Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 8 even more explicitly calls Israel Goy. In Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 8 it says, "Who hath heard such a thing? Who hath seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation, meaning Goy, be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children." This goes to show you that the exiles that are gathered in from the nations are referred to as the collective singular goy. And this is eschatological in that Israel will be reborn in one day, meaning the land that we know of in the Middle East will not be called Palestine. That was how it was redesignated by the Romans. And the original borders that God showed Abraham will be restored, extending from the great river of Egypt all the way to the river Euphrates. On top of that, this is when I believe Yeshua HaNotzari will come in his Ben David role and execute many of the messianic prophecies that Jews are looking for to designate the Mashiach, the King Messiah. And one thing that he'll do is he'll be sure that the predator lies with the prey. He'll also make sure that all carnal weapons of warfare are no longer taken up, and officially the Messianic age will begin. So, mind you, this channel is pro-Israel, but it is anti the synagogue of Satan, and it's the synagogue of Satan that is actively using their blasphemy to try to deceive the masses into thinking that the words goy and goyim, remember the latter is its plural, are bad words. The way that the word goy is used today in certain contexts contradicts its historical and scriptural use. And honestly, the internet has caused great amounts of stultification for people who are chronically online. And that's why we live in an age where false information is spread and truthful information is hardly sought out. Now, for the purposes of argument and simulation, I want to contend that Yeshua spoke Hebrew. And people say, well, there's no proof for that. Actually, there is. He used words like rabbi, korban, among other Hebrew terms within the New Testament, and then is also described speaking Hebrew when he encounters Paul on his way to Damascus. In Matthew 28, verses 19 through 20, Yeshua effectively tells us, go out into all the goyim, and to take his commandments to all the goyim, meaning spread Torah to all the goyim. He didn't say gatekeep it from them. He said give it to them and teach it to them, disciple them. And even if he did use the Aramaic term umayah, It has the very same implications of going out to everybody regardless of who it is and teaching them Bible.